Hey, look at that. So pretty.
It is.
So pretty.
We're about the same height.
Yeah.
Works. Look into the camera.
Looking into the camera.
Okay. If I'm looking into the camera, does it look alright?
Yeah.
I just want to keep looking there. Okay.
Yeah, it's difficult, eh? Put the fucking thing underneath.
Yeah, we actually need a, okay, cool. Yep. Alright. Riley will do the intro for us.
Cool.
Okay. And this gives me nice practice to get used to talking into the camera. The height, alright?
Yeah.
Is it level though?
Yeah, it is. Because if you look at the window.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Alright.
We're good. You're gonna smoke.
Well, we'll edit this out. I wonder
Alright.
would this light actually do anything? How cool would that be? But you can't see it though. Look at that. You
No.
can't see it.
You can't see anything on
Does
it.
it do anything for us though? If we had to put it here?
No, but what happens just if you turn it off and you just leave it like that?
Can't see.
Yeah, focus is out.
Does it pick up the focus?
There we are.
Okay. It's quite cool.
We should write AzureConnect episode 3 on it and then go like
Let's
this.
see.
And come back.
See if it works. How do I do this? Where's the thing?
Yeah.
ACEP number, because it's not a hashtag, it's a number.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, and you just let it sit.
No, it's tracking our faces. It's not tracking. Well, welcome to AzureConnect. What do you think? Welcome to AzureConnect, where we make Azure simple. Is that right?
Yeah. Simple. Can Azure be simple? Yes, it can.
I don't know. This is a bi-weekly show where we share our thoughts, opinions, what we like, what we don't like, and what we think is cool about all things Azure. And we might do a little bit of AWS.
A little bit.
Little
Yes.
bit.
Yes, you have to do the comparison.
Do we have to?
Yes, I think we do.
Hi, my name is Alistair Pugin. I am your host for AzureConnect, and our resident industry expert on all things Azure is Mr. Warren DeToy. Welcome.
Hello?
And if you're new, welcome. Grab some coffee, grab a beer, grab a whiskey. And if you are returning, we are really glad to see your smiling face once again.
Indeed. And we have a really cool show today because it's 2020.
Is it 2020? It
Yeah.
is. This is the...
2020.
I don't know when this is airing though, but yes, this is January of 2020, and it's not 2020, it's 2020.
Yes.
Let's just get the naming conventions right. It's 2020.
Correct.
And this is actually for our viewers, our listeners, because there's also a podcast version of this. This is episode 3.
Yes.
Because we've done a few things, failed episodes before,
Exactly.
and this is episode 3. And in this, well, this is a bi-weekly show.
Yeah. But I think in this episode we're going to take you on a journey.
Well,
Okay.
hold on. Let's commit to the viewers. This is a bi-weekly show.
Yes.
So you committing to being here, and it's not sponsored by Monster. I'm just a bit thirsty. It's not sponsored by Monster, but if Monster wants to sponsor AzureConnect,
We're good
please
with
do.
that.
We're good with that.
Sugar free.
And we thought, because everyone else is doing this, we'd look back. We'd do a retrospective of what happened in Azure in 2019.
Yeah. But I think also we can sort of, it marks a decade, right? So Windows Azure
Hold
was
on.
publicly available.
Is it a decade? Because
Well,
there's a
February,
lot of...
February it is. So
No. Is it a decade? Before we get into Azure, is it a decade? So the viewers out there, I had a friend of mine come up to me and say, no, but it's not a decade because there was no year 0.
Okay.
Right? But according to the Gregorian calendar,
Yes.
2020 is the start of a new decade and it goes from 2020 to 2029.
Correct. Yeah.
But is it a decade if there was no year 0?
So isn't the definition of decade 10 years?
Yes.
Right. So,
So
if,
the
we have
last
to say,
10 years.
if we have to say Microsoft became a public cloud vendor officially in February of 2010. Or
So the
2010.
birth.
Yes.
Was there a birthplace though?
I wouldn't say it's a birthplace.
No, but was there a birthplace? Where was it birthed? Where was the first? Do you know where the first data center was?
Wasn't it Redmond?
I don't know. I don't. Is there? I don't. I have no idea.
Not sure.
Anyhow.
Yes.
So what were you saying?
Right. So when we have to think about it, Microsoft became a public cloud vendor in February of 2010, right?
When did AWS become a public cloud vendor? Was it before
I
that?
think it was before.
It
yes.
was before
I think
that,
it was
yes.
before. And it was called Windows Azure back then. right?
Okay.
Codenamed Red Dog. Not alone knows why. But it was
I thought
codenamed Red Dog.
Microsoft named their products after mountain ranges. Redstone
Yeah, but that's Windows. It wasn't necessarily cloud.
and Tahoe, which was the first version of SharePoint.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, digressing. So yes, codename Red Dog.
Codename Red Dog. Okay, so
When did you touch it?
About 4 years ago. 4 years ago. I
So
touched
you didn't
Azure,
touch
so
it when it was Red Dog.
No, I didn't. Or Windows Azure, let alone. Because to be perfectly honest with you, in my opinion, the classic portal was terrible.
Oh, the original one.
Yes.
Is it gone now?
It's gone. Oh, look,
You still used to do some sort of merging subscriptions
some people
and
can
stuff.
still use it. I think
Okay.
some people that have services that run there, but it's been deprecated. It's finished. It's gone.
What other things over the last decade?
So
10 years.
Okay, so let's just some of the key points. Okay, so we look at 2012. So June 2012, their first Linux machines inside of Azure supported. So that was a big thing.
Was there a specific distro that they were aiming at?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure which
What
one
was the
I
first
think
distro that you touched?
First distro I ever touched in my career.
No.
Oh,
in Azure.
Oh, it was probably Ubuntu.
Because I see there's Red Hat and there's SUSE or SUSE or SUSE.
SUSE. SUSE.
Yes. There's no Mandrake or anything like that. I don't even know if Mandrake's still around.
No, well, Mandrake's more of a desktop operating system.
Okay. So now that's the other thing. Is it only server Linux or is there a desktop version? Like you can spin up a Windows 10 virtual machine.
VNC is VNC. So if you've got a desktop environment running and the port's open, you can...
Yeah, but is there a desktop distro? Like you saying Mandrake was a desktop distro as a virtual machine in,
See, so
in Azure?
here you would probably go towards the Azure Marketplace, right? So what happens is people can submit their own distributions into the Azure Marketplace, and as long as it's got those Hyper-V extensions installed, the thing will run.
All right. That's 2012.
Yeah. Then we had let's look at 2017 where they launched Azure Stack. Right. So 2017 they launched Azure Stack and brought out the need for intelligent edge, hybrid
But
computing.
before 2017, you had vendors like Dell and HPE selling you Cloud in a Box. It was called Cloud in a Box. I remember looking at it and I was like, okay, so you buy 3 racks and you get it from Dell and it's called Cloud in a Box. Mm-hmm. Was that where Azure Stack was born from or going towards? Because you can do that today, right?
You see, the thing is, I think it has to do with more hardware and how the hardware interacts. Okay, so when you think about it, Azure Stack has to be approved. The OEM has to be approved. They have to sit with Microsoft and design the hardware so that Azure and the Hyper-V and all those extensions run correctly on the hardware, right? So I think there's only 5, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, Huawei was just, it's HP, Dell, Lenovo, or IBM, and Huawei is there now as well, so Huawei has a stack.
Huawei.
Huawei.
Like, what was that Hotel Transylvania where it's Hawiwi?
Hawiwi. Yes, Hawiwi.
So 2017 we had the official launch of Azure Stack for people that are not moving to the cloud but want to run a similar interface.
Correct. It's an extension.
On premises, right?
It's an extension.
And it does your Hyper-V stuff with System Center. I don't know too much about Azure Stack.
Slowly but surely it grew. Look, when Azure Stack launched, there wasn't much that ran on it. Okay? I mean, you could run some VMs, and that was pretty much it. So everybody was like, okay, I'd like to run my database as a service, and they were like, Can't be
A
done.
skin for System Center Virtual Machine Manager.
Well-
Is that what Azure Stack was?
No. Thankfully, no. Thankfully, Azure Stack was a proper stack that was built from the ground up.
So you could
However, when you had Windows Azure Pack, okay, Windows Azure Pack was a skin for VMware, okay, and that was it had the same look and feel as the Azure Classic interface, okay. So it was Azure Classic interface. So there was a layer in between, and it spoke to VMware, and you had all of those pain points when it came to software-defined networking. And
Can I just stop you there? For those who want to know a bit more about Azure Stack, you will be able to catch our AC Deep Dive or AC After Hours, which will be deep dive shows into what Warren has just spoken about now. Because if you let Warren talk, you will spend the next 45 minutes talking to you about Azure Stack. And we'll have another show launching later this year, talking specifically to, it'll be called AC After Hours. ACAF.
And I think ideally it's going to be based on feedback. So what you guys want to know about. I mean, we're going to touch on some things now that are it's really exciting as far as 2019 was concerned. Okay. And I think we can deep dive some of those things as well.
Over the next couple of months. Not now. We've got about 5 minutes left of the show. And we want to look at 2019 specifically.
Correct.
Now, I don't spend as much time as you do in Azure. What have been your top 5 memorable moments outside of Microsoft Ignite this year for Azure?
Okay, so no Azure podcast or show is complete without the mention of Kubernetes. So look, AKS took off huge in 2019. Okay, AKS has just gotten bigger and better. You know, towards the end of 2019, we saw integration with Application Gateway. Which is really great. Took off huge.
I need to find that. So, carry on talking about that.
Then I would say another big thing was DevOps. Azure DevOps. It keeps getting better and better and better. More and more features keep getting added. Agile methodologies being completely adopted. And again, those DevOps pipelines have now been shifted across.
This really is the world's smallest violin. See?
Okay. That's how I feel about Kubernetes.
Well, okay, now that you've got that out your system.
I do, thank you very much.
I'm done with Kubernetes.
Are you done? Are you finished now? AKS was a big thing.
Run it, it's awesome. Then GitHub Actions, which
Sorry,
came
just
from
on the
DevOps.
AKS stuff, you mentioned and you always carry on, and AKS is not just a developer environment, right?
No, not at all. No.
And we'll talk about stuff like infrastructure as code in a later episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
So look, when it comes to AKS gives pretty much anyone the ability to run their own Kubernetes environment inside of Azure and deploy their containers. Okay, so the idea is that you can have this infinitely scalable sort of, if you've got an application that you've written or whatever the case would be is, infinitely scalable, but you don't need to necessarily know how Kubernetes works, right? Because what you do is you deploy it, it'll run, you connect it to a DevOps pipeline, and it'll work, right?
It's like me going to my twins and saying, although they'll probably pull it off because they play a lot of Forza, here's the keys to the automatic that's parked in the garage. Take it for a drive.
Okay, now
that's literally what you've just said now.
Yes or
Go
no?
take Kubernetes out and drive it.
Yes and no. Look, at the same time, yes, it can be costly if you don't set the scaling options correct. But if you are in an organization that is using Azure DevOps, those guardrails are there.
And guardrails is not just a term you're using lightly, it's an actual term for things in Azure, right?
Yeah, correct.
All right, moving on because we're
moving on. Next thing, Bastion. Azure Bastion.
Did you not talk about DevOps?
I did.
What did you say about DevOps?
You were busy violining.
Yes. What about Azure DevOps? Did they launch Azure DevOps last year?
No, they didn't launch it, but it took off.
When did the stupid name come from? Was that last year?
I think it was the year before, 2018.
And everyone is still okay with the stupid name, Azure DevOps?
Yeah, it's very confusing. I don't think people are okay with it. I think what people do is they confuse development operations, okay, the definition, development operations, what that is, and what Azure DevOps is as a product. And
they should have just left it as VSTS.
Correct.
All right.
But, yeah, so.
What about DevOps was exciting?
To be honest with you, you're talking about giving the keys to your kids to the automatic, right? what happens is you'll find that, let's say they take the car out and they run out of petrol. Okay? With DevOps, there's an ability so that you can start putting all of these pieces in place so that they don't run out of petrol, so that the thing's serviced automatically, X, Y, Z. So the idea is that your entire pipeline is managed.
No, I'm just trying to... No, the autofocus is moving around, and I'm glad that it's back on you. Yes. Okay, next, there was some Napoleon thing that...
Okay, so something very confusing. I mean, initially what happens is, so Bastion came out. Okay, Azure Bastion. We'll get...
Why would they call it Bastion?
Right. So, when we were talking about securing Active Directory, okay, up until recently, okay, what you would do is you would have your main forest, and then what you'd have is you'd have a Bastion forest. And all of your administration tasks would be done via the Bastion forest. So it's a separate domain, separate forest, so that you prevent lateral movement to your domain.
Is this a vape-friendly show?
Yeah, I think so. So then what happens is we start looking at what they call a red forest. Now, red forest was called a Bastion environment. So now Azure, again, with their naming convention, decided to go and call this particular product
your dev
Bastion.
forest or your QA forest?
No. It was specifically a administration forest.
Your QA forest?
No, administration forest only.
So what do I
administer?
administer?
To make changes to Active Directory or get access to Active Directory.
So Bastion is just for AD type stuff?
Well, yes, correct. And so what happens is they've gone and they've named a product, again, very confusingly. What Azure Bastion is it's a virtual machine that you can access through the Azure portal to gain access to your resources, so that you don't have to leave any of your resources open to the internet.
What's the next one? That's already confusing. Right. That will be in AC After Hours.
I would say the next one is the interface. Okay, it was a big one. Okay, if we have to look at what was changed, there were 10 specific features that were updated when it came to the portal. Okay, you got the home instead of just using your dashboard. Okay, you had new service cards.
What is a service card?
So the cards that you pull up that show the description of the stuff that you're going to be doing. So for instance,
if I click on the left nav and the next...
So what happens is you can now click on the left nav and then you can hover over Kubernetes and then click new. So you don't actually have to go into...
So it's an adaptive card. So they've implemented adaptive
100%.
Cards for Azure,
and again,
which is nice.
Yes, and so it'll present contextual information relevant to the service as well. Okay, then you've got automatic refresh, you've got improved service icons. The icons were great. Unfortunately, it just meant that I had to update every Visio diagram I've ever drawn.
Well, the fluid design is in now. It's not only for Office 365. It is also available inside Azure, and they've gone through 2 iterations of iconography updates.
Yes.
So it's got that flat look.
Correct.
And we've seen it recently. They brought out another batch of icon updates.
Correct. So
Tracy van der Scape, who's got all those tattoos on her arm, has to have her other arm done with new
well, the good news is that they have released a pack, and we can put it in the show notes where you can download all of them in SVG.
You mean you will put it into the show
I'll put it in the show notes.
And because they're on our show notes.
Correct.
That we're going to add to this video, right?
And then you'll have automatic refresh and filtration.
Okay, I'm done with updates to the interface.
Then
what else? The last thing.
The last one, the big one. And I have the shirt. Azure Arc. Okay? Azure Arc is going to be a huge one. It's going to be a game changer this year because it allows...
Is it like Noah, where you go out there and you collect everything 2 by 2?
Correct, 2 by 2. But...
Why did they bring mosquitoes onto the Ark? That's all I wanted to be... Noah, if you are listening...
Wait, hold on a second. Are you calling EC2 mosquitoes?
I didn't call anything. I just want to speak to Noah if he's out there, because I just watched Messiah on Netflix, and according to the show... So Noah,
either way,
you're going to have to beep out what I'm about to say to him. Those mosquitoes, please, boy, you should never have brought them.
Okay, we digress. Azure Arc allows you to manage your other infrastructure sitting in another cloud through the Azure portal.
Another cloud provider.
Yes.
Like AWS and
Correct.
Google and Alibaba.
Yes. So you can add your virtual machines that are sitting somewhere else into the portal, and it'll manage them. You can even add your Kubernetes clusters in as well. So for instance, you can add a Kubernetes cluster that's running inside of AWS to your Azure tenant, and you can upgrade the Kubernetes.
Is that like world peace? for cloud people.
That is exactly what they've done.
World peace
World
for
peace.
cloud people.
Yes.
I think on
With
that,
mosquitoes.
with mosquitoes. And on that bombastic note, we are going to end the show.
We are. Yes. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching and or listening to AzureConnect. If you enjoyed the episode, like, share, and subscribe. There are buttons. Hit the bell if you want to get notified about new episodes. You can also find us soon on your podcast app of choice. So if you're on Stitcher or on Apple, what's it called? Apple Podcast?
Yes.
And all the other ones, Pocket Cast and those things. You can find me on Twitter at Alistair Pugin, and Warren is?
At Warren DT.
And thank you for watching. Catch you soon.